onslaught better than we usually do.
Alright, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Dragons!
Oh my god, he just ran in.
Hey everybody, and welcome back for episode 22 of LFR, the casual podcast for casual players of World of Warcraft, where we make the lore of Warcraft more accessible than sappy retrospective episodes. Because guess what? You're listening to one. I'm your host, Sirithe. Oh yeah, Dracoris isn't here. So this week, we had to record separately because of the holidays. We just didn't have time to put together a traditional LFR episode. We weren't able to get together to record. We didn't have time to get notes together. So we're both going to spend a little bit of time talking about our favorite moments from the past year of podcasting. I hope you guys enjoy the ride. If this isn't your dig, no big deal. We'll see you in another couple weeks when we have, well, it won't be a traditional episode. We got something special in the works for our anniversary. Stay tuned. So, a year. God, I can't believe we made a year. I really didn't think that we would get this far. This show has grown in a way that I didn't think was ever going to happen. It's going to be a lot of ums and uhs from me today because me talking basically to myself feels weird. I don't know how people do solo podcasts. I'm developing a new respect for them. Way to go, Allie. But yeah, a year. We've done, God, I don't know exactly how many episodes. I mean, this is our 22nd numbered episode, but we've got 5 bonus episodes. We've got the lawsuit episode. For a show that was supposed to be bi-weekly and that we took a break because of everything going on with Blizzard, for us to be where we are is really astounding to me. The community that has sprung up around this show, I'm pretty floored by it. I couldn't be any more grateful to the amazing community that has sprung up about the show. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But looking back at some of the episodes we've done and the way we've grown as podcasters is just, it's pretty astounding to me. I mean, if you go back to our first episode, our Anduin episode, and while I don't think it was a bad episode, the difference in just how the show sounds, just from a listening standpoint, I mean, it's so much more balanced in the sound levels, and it's cleaner. Dracoris' audio is way, way better with his new mic he's gotten, and we wouldn't have put all that work into it if it wasn't for you guys. But going back, like I said, going back to our early episodes, and like I said, I don't think they were bad by any means, but we were hitting big time characters. I mean, we led off with Anduin and Thrall, 2 of the biggest characters in Warcraft. And yes, we've done Arthas, we've done some big episodes, but doing an episode about Il'gynoth Whispers, I didn't think that was something we would ever be able to do and that people would want to listen to it, because I saw this as, we're going to be like a lore primer for people who don't know the lore. And really, if you're a person who doesn't know the lore and is just trying to get the main story beats, you're not looking for Il'gynoth Whispers. You're looking for, who is Anduin? Why the fuck does he have a sword now? I thought he was a priest. Why can't Thrall be a shaman anymore? Oh, wait, he's a shaman again. What the hell is going on? You're looking for things like that, I feel like. I don't feel like you're looking for 2 random guys' ramblings about what the old god whispers mean. My God, Dracoris, how do you talk this much every episode? It's exhausting. Anywho, that's kind of a quick retrospective about the show. Spoiler alert, I did listen to Dracoris' bit, and It's been a bit. He recorded last week, and I've been super busy and couldn't sit down until today. Well, the episode's going to come out shortly after I finish recording this, so y'all know it's December 28th. So I don't remember what he said. I'm trying not to repeat what he said, but yeah. I think if I'm looking back at our episode list right now, and I know Dracoris talked a lot more about the community, so I'm going to keep my community bit short, keep my podcasting bit a little bit more. Looking back at the episode list, I think some of my favorites, I loved episode 21, doing the Il'gynoth Whispers and really just getting to speculate wildly. Well, not even speculate, just kind of really talk about what we thought about it. I loved that. Other than that, I think my favorite episodes were episodes 13 and 14 when we did the Folk and Fairy Tales novel. That was fantastic. I still haven't bought and read it, but I plan to, because those stories were really, really well written, I feel like. And they did a great job at adding some inclusion into the Warcraft universe, which, as we now know even more so, was already sorely needed then, and now we know just how badly it was really needed. And I feel like, yes, I've listened to all our episodes, but if somebody was asking, hey, who are these guys? I feel like episode 13 and 14 give you a good idea of kind of who we are and how we look at podcasting. As we go back through the list, we've had our bonus episodes, and those have also been some of my favorite things we've done because we get to talk to other awesome people throughout podcasting. I mean, our first episode with Charity, where the only episode where there wasn't a winner or a loser, that was so much fun, like getting to talk to Charity and getting to know Charity a little bit. Then we had our episode with Demi, who both Dracoris and I knew going into, and just kind of getting to sit back and watching the two of them go at it about Paladins and Death Knights was great. And, you know, the only bonus episode that I was the deciding vote, so I didn't lose. Woohoo! Then getting to do the episode with Lex, and, you know, Lex and I having had our relationship before from raiding together, and just her stream and everything. That was a bunch of fun, and, you know, birthed a new podcast that will be coming out in early 2022 as well, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun. Shameless plug right in the middle of our retrospective. Shame on me. And then obviously we had our Q&A episode, which I felt like was a lot of fun because it kind of feels like it got the community involved a little more, and it's something I'm a little interested in maybe doing again, maybe like every few months. Because I know if we were to do it every month that we would run out of questions really quickly. But if we do it every few months, maybe, you know, who knows? We'll see. Dracoris will talk. And then obviously we got to do bonus episode 5 with Jin, which was awesome. I know Dracoris and I have both really respected Jin for a long time as a podcaster, and without, as we've said, without the shows Jin has made, this show wouldn't exist. So getting to have him on here and talk to him about Warriors was awesome. Even though he, you know, won because it was an inside job, because, you know, the two Forever Alliance mains picked an Alliance Warrior. Surprise, surprise. But I think that's enough about the show in general. I do want to spend a few minutes just talking about this amazing community that has grown around this show. I was going to say that we grew, but we didn't. We just put out the show. Like, we just put out the show and made a Discord server. You guys made the community, and it's such a truly great community. It's I'm so humbled to be a part of it. I absolutely love it. I know I haven't been talking as much in the Discord server. I've been working all the freaking time, but I love it. It's seeing the friendships that have sprung up because we do this little show is absolutely amazing. And I can't thank. I could sit here and thank every member of this community individually, but that would take a little bit of time. And you don't want to sit here and listen to this forever during the holidays. But I do definitely want to thank Shantyman. Shantyman was our first fan. He was the first person outside of the two of us. He may have even beaten us to listening to an episode. He was our first review, and he's just such a supportive and awesome person that I think this show may not have taken off the way it did if it wasn't for Shantyman. Also have a huge shout out to Gershom. Gershom, I would say, is, if Shantyman was our first fan, Gershom may be our biggest fan. She just kind of hopped on really early. I know she found us through Dungeon Fables, and it just I remember the DM she sent on Twitter was one of those moments where Dracoris and I were both like, wow, okay, maybe we're not bad at this. And just everybody who pushed us to make a Patreon way earlier than we ever intended to and has supported us. Mud is one of the most supportive people I've ever met, and I can't thank Mud enough for all the support he's given us. Sky Shrouder, he has been here since pretty much the start of the Discord and always hanging out. And he's supported us again since he was our second patron. He barely got beaten to the punch by Mud, but Mud got cutting edge, and Sky Shrouder just got AOTC. And then, we've had so many amazing people helping us out and plugging us and just hanging out with us. We've had Anna, who, even though quit the game, still supports the show, and that just blows my mind. And I can't thank them enough. And like I said, I could go on and on and on about thanking the members of the community, but we'll be here literally all day. If I didn't mention your name, it doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It's just there's so many amazing people in this community to thank, and this show wouldn't exist without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And I do want to just thank a couple other members of the extended Warcraft community for kind of helping put our name out there as we've grown. And yeah. So first off, I want to thank Allie from Dungeon Fables and Live Laugh Lore. She was one of the first people to ever plug us on her show, Dungeon Fables. And I know we've gotten listens through that. And thank you so much for just being you. I've already talked about Jen enough. I was just going to say thank you, Jen. And I do also want to thank Lex. She was one of our other first podcast plugs back on Big Love Rocket, and she consistently talks about how awesome we are on her stream. And it's like, if you have imposter syndrome, go talk to Lex, because she's just going to bully you until you feel good about yourself. So, and yeah, like I said, I could sit here for hours and thank everybody, but Dracoris also did a lot of that. Spoiler alert. So if I didn't mention you, anything nice Dracoris said about you also comes from me. That works, I think. All right. But I think I've rambled on for long enough, and you can listen to Dracoris ramble now. Just one last thank you so much for listening and being a fan, and your support means the world to us, and I can't wait to see what we do in year 2. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi everybody, it's Dracoris. I assume you've just finished listening to Sirithe's portion of this show. It's very interesting recording this blind and having no idea what he said. Let's hope I'm not repeating him too much. But the idea behind this was that because we couldn't get together to record, we would both just record a little LFR retrospective for the year. LFR usually stands for looking for raid. Here it stands for, I don't know, looking at fond reminiscence. I don't know. I didn't write anything for that. This is off the cuff. But look, it's been a hell of a first year. And in pretty trying circumstances, we are in the second year of a pandemic now. That, much like the snow outside, it shows no signs of stopping. We are in the holiday season, and it is, it's the time of year to look back and think about these things. And actually, podcasting has given me such an amazing outlet, both creatively, which is very important for me, but also in terms of engaging with the community and having a way of talking to you guys. It's been great. I certainly feel a hell of a lot less lonely now than I did this time last year, and I think that's at least in part down to you guys, so thank you for that. So I went through and did a bit of counting ahead of this, and in our first calendar year as a podcast, we have recorded 38 separate recordings. That's between me and Sirithe, and including guest spots. So we've had our first 21 actual episodes. Admittedly, one of those is just Murloc noises, but it does have both of our voices on the intro, so I'm counting it. But we also had the 5 bonus episodes that we've done. One with Charity, one with Demi, one with Lex, one was our Q&A, and then we did the one with Jin recently. And we did the lawsuit episode as well. So that's even just with our own episodes. That's 28. We've then also done a bunch of guest spots. So we were together. We did a show with Tauren and Goblin, Nick and Katie, which was so. I mean, unfortunately, Katie couldn't make it, so it was just me, Sirithe, and Nick. But that was a lot of fun. We both recorded individual interviews with Demi and Bricko on Third Faction. We both did individual interviews with Syl for Whispers of War. And I personally did a guest spot on But Wait, There's Law to discuss my Medivh theory. And I was interviewed by Frasley for Frazzlecast. And then finally I did a few law speculation bonus episodes with Demi from Third Faction. And there's another one of those actually coming up in the new year. So yeah, 38 recordings between us. For people who said they were going to do a bi-weekly show. So I mean, we were expecting at best 24 episodes recorded. And we've blown that out of the water, which I think is great. In terms of those episodes, I mean, there are some major highlights for me. Obviously, episode 1 was the first time doing this, and when I listen to it now, I can see how far we've came. But also, people are still picking up the podcast, starting at episode 1 and making their way through to now. So it can't have been that bad. And I still think, the lore holds up, and it's a good episode. The fact that we then went from there to, we did Anduin, we did Thrall, we did Khadgar, 3 major characters really early on in our run. And I'm still pretty proud of what we did in those episodes. The April Fool's thing with the Murlocs was great. We got some really good feedback from people on that, and there will be April Fool's episodes in the future. I can tell you that much. We've got some ideas. Not going to tell you all what they are right now, but they should be fun. But then we followed up the April Fool's episode with an actual episode on Murlocs. And actually, that's something that I don't think anyone else has ever done. Looking into WoW podcasts, I haven't found another episode anywhere where anyone's really dove into the Murlocs like that. So that's another one that I'm pretty proud of. And then Azul episode, which was immediately after the Murlocs. We've had some really positive feedback from that, because he's not a character that gets talked about enough, really, for how important he is. And I think that was around the point where we really hit our stride, I think, because I think those few episodes, the Murlocs, Najul, Valen, I think those were some of our best episodes in terms of lore content that actually you're not going to get from another podcast, I don't think. Recently, obviously, we've done Arthas, and that was great, but Arthas is someone who is talked about a lot. you know? Part of the point of this podcast is to shine a spotlight on these lesser featured characters, and that's something I'm going to want to focus on over the next year. You know, there are things we're going to have to touch on. I mean, Sylvanas' story is going to get some sort of massive, if not a resolution, then a big step forward when that novel comes out. So I think we are going to have to do a few episodes on Sylvanas at some point in the next year. But generally speaking, I want to hit some of these lesser known characters, you know, and really dig into those, because I think that's where the show's been at its most fun. The bonus episodes have been fantastic. You know, one of the problems with doing a lore show like we do is that you generally, in the course of events, you don't get to speak to all these wonderful people in the community. That's why I've been a bit jealous of some of the people who do these interview shows, you know, like Demi and Bricko with the Third Faction, like Syl with Whispers of War, you know, Frasley when she was doing Frazzlecast. And I think that's something that you can miss out on in that sort of scenario. So the bonus episodes are a great way for us to kind of scratch that itch. And so far we've spoken to some amazing people, and we've got plans to speak to even more, which is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, so what you can expect from us this year, you can expect a lot more lore. We still have a list going in the Discord server with future episode requests and ideas and what have you. But that doesn't mean that we're not open to more. You know, we want as many suggestions as we can possibly get. So, you know, as always, feel free to get in touch with us if there's something you do want us to cover, you know, via Twitter, Discord, emails, whatever you want. And, you know, please feel free to leave reviews if you haven't already as well. Our recording schedule is going to change by necessity, because I'm starting a new job on the 10th of January. But the show isn't going anywhere. So just be patient with us if it takes a while to sort of get a steady release pattern going again. What else can you expect from us this year? Yeah, more guests. We will have guest interviews with most of our patrons over the next few months, as well as with some other friends of ours from the wild podcasting and lore communities. We think some of these episodes are going to be really good fun, so do keep an eye out for those. And yeah, I promised I'd keep this short to Sirithe, but I lied. So what I'm going to do now is a lot of thank yous, both to people in the community and to other podcasters. Now, if that's not your thing, feel free to dip out now. Because you're not going to miss anything like lore-wise, or in terms of the future of the podcast or any announcements. So yeah, if that's you, feel free to dip out now, and happy holidays, and thank you for listening. That said, there are a whole bunch of people I'd really like to thank. Whether it's for their help in support getting the show off the ground and improving what we do, or whether it's for helping to spread the word and bring us to a wider audience. And for some of you, it's just for being there for us. Obviously, I'm going to start out with my partner, Lou. There is literally no way I could do this without her. The hours I've spent locked away typing up notes or listening to podcasts for research, the time she's spent entertaining the kids when I've had to record at a weird time during the holidays or on a weekend, the many, many cups of tea that she's sort of stoically gone without as a result of this. You know, it's a debt that will probably never be fully repaid. Lou, if you're listening, I love you, and thank you. Next up is another no-brainer. Sirithe. I haven't heard his half of this yet, but it's a fair bet that he's probably said something self-deprecating at some point, because there's no one there to time to stop. He is the warmest, most supportive guy I know, and I'm honoured to be his friend. The only person I know who wouldn't say that Sirithe is the best is Sirithe. But look, there is no way in hell this podcast could have got off the ground without him. Keep being you, buddy, and I look forward to another year of podcasting. Next is, honestly, it's the entire crew of the LFR Discord. If you've ever even so much as said hi in there, we appreciate you, but there are a few names I really want to single out specifically. So first is Mud. You guys might know Mud from his own show, Grats. You might know him from our Discord, or you might have seen him in any of the myriad streams and podcasts that he supports. Mud was the first person to join our Discord, outside of Sirithe and myself. He was also our first patron. Mud, you have been a massive part of our support network, and I am so, so glad that you're here. Next is Anna. Anna is sick at the moment, and so are her husband and little boy. We really hope you get well soon, Anna. Anna's support has been so, so valuable in this whole podcasting thing from day one. She slid into the Discord about 30 seconds after Mud did, and she was the first person to tell us about the early discrepancy in our audio levels. She also continued to support us even after she stopped supporting Blizzard, and that's a sentence that just blows my mind to say out loud. So thank you, Anna. Anna also has a literature podcast called Books Are Magical. The first episode covered the book House on the Cerulean Sea, and it's fantastic, and you should definitely go and give it a listen. I know Anna's been moving recently, and now she's ill, but I'm pretty sure she's going to get back to that show again soon, and it's definitely worth having in your podcatchers so that, you know, catches up when she does release another episode. She's an engaging speaker, and she knows what she's talking about when it comes to books. Another name who has been unfailingly supportive, even if he frequently calls me a dick, is Sky Shrouder, or Nate. Nate has been a near constant presence in the Discord since his first day, and he is a valuable source of both critique and humour. He likes to pretend he's not a nice guy, but we all know he's a marshmallow, really. And we will get that D&D game off the ground at some point, Sky, when we're all, you know, a bit less busy. But thank you so much for stepping up and volunteering to DM that, and I'm sorry that it hasn't worked out so far. You have been a really, really important part of this community, and I hope it stays that way. Next up is Shantyman. What can be said about Shanty that, one, we haven't already said, or that, two, he hasn't already said about someone else? He is an incredibly supportive guy. He's the best, and he regularly uplifts more content creators than I can remember. This guy has more podcasts that he actively follows than I have literally heard of. So if anyone is ever looking for podcast recommendations, get in touch with Shanty, because he'll be able to point you in the right direction. Now, I can only assume there are at least 48 hours a day wherever Shanty lives, because otherwise I have no idea how he fits it all in. But honestly, thank you, Shanty. I really appreciate, one, your presence in the community and the energy you bring to that, but two, the amount of support and everything that you've given to us, you know, the retweeting of everything we put out there, the review. You're the only person who ever left us a review on Podbean, which is fantastic. And he's the guy who hopped in yesterday or the day before to tell us that actually Spotify now has a reviewing mechanism, or at least a star rating one, something that I didn't know about before and probably wouldn't have found out about if it wasn't for Shanty. So thank you so much, dude. Then there's Gershom. Gershom joined our Discord the same day as BlizzConline last year. Well, earlier this year. And I can honestly say that she's been the heart and soul of the place ever since. One of my favourite people that I've met this year, and now a co-host on the podcast Thrall's Balls to boot. She often credits our Discord with helping her find her people, but I think I credit her with making that place feel like home. So thank you so much, Gershom. I'd then like to give a special shout out to the three boys from DNR, another pod Do Not Relent. As much as I've occasionally given Immune some shit about stealing our listeners, I think the opposite's true, as at least one of our patrons came over after hearing about us on his show. So Immune, Slide, Aaron, you're all incredible people. I love listening to your show, and if I were the half of this podcast that lived in Chicago, I'd have bought you guys a bottle of Malort by now. To nobody's surprise, I'm also going to include Jin in this. As well as appearing on our 5th bonus episode, Jin has provided tech support, mic advice, the occasional sounding board for a law question. Obviously, he's not obligated to do any of this, but he did because he's a great guy. It's old news by now, but it's also a fact that Sirithe and I would never have started this show without Jin's first show, Morally Grey, being a thing. So thanks again, Jin. While I'm there, I'd like to say thank you to Ali too. Ali is the host of Dungeon Fables and Jin's co-host on Live Laugh Law, and realistically, if you're listening to us, you probably already know both of those things. She has been incredibly supportive to both of us in getting this show rolling and in keeping it going when we hit a wall. She is the slayer of imposter syndrome in others, honestly, and she's modest enough that she probably has no clue how much her kind words have helped me personally. So thank you so much, Ali. Then Laura Shortridge Scots, also known as Discordian Kitty, one of our guests from the lawsuit episode back in August, invited me to a law discussion Discord earlier this year. While that Discord is no longer around, I made some friendships there that I really value, and one of them is hers. For being an outlet when no one else in the world would discuss Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth with me before it had been released in America, thank you so much, Laura. Then there's Demeternoth. What can we say about Demi? Not only did she give me a much-needed platform to get the show in people's ears back at the start of the year, but then she somehow thought having me on 3 more times to talk law was a good idea. So Demi, thank you for all your support and for listening to all my batshit Dreadlord theories. Look forward to doing it again in January. And finally, to all of you who are listening to this show, and to anyone who has ever left a review, retweeted an episode, or mentioned us to a friend, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I didn't know how this podcast would do when it first started out, but it has surpassed all my expectations for year 1. So here's to year 2. Cheers.
uncomfortable with the energy that we've created in the studio today.